Well, I think that somebody talks about this phrase called the residuals of learning. What do you know? What's left when all the stuff you learn has been forgotten? Whereas often education is focused on the stuff you know, whereas actually the stuff you know is important and we pick those things because they're most enriching and interesting, but it's what's left when you've forgotten that. What is the character that's left? Because that is the learner for life. And there are foundational things you need to know, like how to add up and how to divide, how to read. Those are important. What you read can really fuel that, but what's left beyond that? And I think at Emmanuel, we think, well, first and foremost, I want a child who is courageous in the way that they learn, not inhibited in the way that they learn, always just seeking to keep hold of what they have. I want them to be someone who's expansive with what they know and takes risks with what they know and maybe goes beyond what they know and imagines beyond that. So there's an element of courage that we want to see in children. So, like I said, curiosity is a driver of learning and a residual. So if I want a child to end up being a questioner, the way I bring learning to them is to get them to ask questions of it. So it might be bringing as simple as bringing a cover of a book and saying, what do you see here? And actually getting to see how much you can see from the cover of a book that might help you ask some questions about what's inside it, and getting them to realize that there are loads of picture stories around us that are pointing us to stories that we might want to open up and look at, and giving that child a disposition of the world that what's on the surface here might be worth questioning to find out what's in the middle, and that being the way that we start learning so that the end point of learning is also the same. And in questioning, there's so much risk in that's being taken because the child doesn't know the answer. So even in that process of questioning something that they don't know or know anything about, you're teaching them to be courageous, to saying, this is an unknown world for you, but have a go navigating through it. And there's courage that's placed or drawn out of the child in that process. Because you do know some children who they won't answer a question unless they know, and that they are inculcated that I answer when I know. But to inculcate into a child to answer when I don't know, but I might have a chance of knowing, is a very different disposition to put into a child, but a really healthy one. I think a lot of it is saying, why do I want to be strong? And the world says, I want to be strong to show I'm powerful. And I think in the context of a Christian school, I want to be strong so I can serve well. And I think for me, the end goal of learning is service and love. And that sounds quite soft and esoteric, but actually it's really visceral and profound, that I want children to say, all that I have, all that I've been given, all that I'm growing in isn't ultimately for me, it's to give with and to serve with. And we had a fair before half term, and the children were given £5, and they then raised more money with that. They made things, they grew things, they developed things, and then they made more through that. And for me, that was a visible picture of what I want their lives to be like. They've all got a gift, they've all been given something, but they're to steward it for others, they're to grow it for others, and they're to give it on to others. And I think there's a lifelong journey for all of us in that, because naturally we want to grow for our own sake. But I think there's something powerful we can do in a school to say, you've been given, steward it, grow it, but it was never yours to keep, it was always yours to give. Faith is the beginning and the end of a Christian school, isn't it? And I think that sense of, we have faith that every child, we want each child to know that they are, as they are enough. And we want them to have a deep sense that my individuality is important, and that where I end up doesn't have to look like where anybody else ends up. We let go of that control, that of saying, this is the journey I must take, and actually allowing God to develop all that he wants to develop in me, to grow me in all the ways that he wants to grow me, and allow that to take me to a much more exciting place than I could go on my own. I once had a parent phone and they said, I want my child to be a Christian, but I also want them to go to Cambridge. And so could you guarantee my child would get to Cambridge? And I thought to myself, why are you aiming so low? God has so much more in store for your child than simply a tertiary education. He has so much more that he wants to do in the heart of your child than that end goal that will end at 21. And I feel that in a faith school, we can tell that story to parents. God has an amazing story that he wants to work in the heart of your child. And let's as parents dream big for what that story might be. Let's not limit it to simply educational outcomes, but let's have a bigger story that we enter into with our child and allow God to do in the heart of our child.